If they truly wanted to talk to you, they would. If they truly valued what you have to offer, you wouldn't be sitting there wondering if you're enough. I know it hurts. I know the mind tries to create 1,000 excuses just to protect the heart. Maybe they're busy. Maybe they're scared. Maybe they're still changing. But no, the truth is simple. They saw your worth and still chose to treat it like an option. That's all you need to know. So, no, you don't need to send another message. You don't need to explain yourself again. You don't need to offer your heart like it's on sale, hoping they'll take it this time. What you need to do is stop, take a deep breath, and flip the script. No begging, no blocking, just one small, precise step, so intentional that it plants itself in their mind like a splinter they can't remove. 1,000 words couldn't achieve what this small shift will set in motion. It will stay in their thoughts for months. And listen, it's not about playing games. Stoicism teaches us to remain calm, but not passive, strategic, not emotional. What you're doing now is not revenge. It's a change of direction. You're disrupting their comfort zone. You're no longer predictable. You no longer appear where they expect you. And when someone can't anticipate your next move, they lose control of the mental script they wrote about you. That's when curiosity turns into obsession. That's when your silence doesn't feel like emptiness. It becomes meaning. You stop writing, but you don't disappear. No, you become a presence they feel, even from a distance, emotionally, physically, mentally. You activate the part of their mind that becomes obsessed with what it can't categorize. You don't erase yourself. You plant something unforgettable in their head, a version of you that evolved so quickly and fearlessly. They don't recognize you anymore, and that unsettles them more than your silence ever could. Let's stop romanticizing confusion. If someone truly wanted you, you'd know. If someone respected you, you'd feel it. You've given enough chances. Now, it's time to give yourself a new story. You're not here to chase, to convince, or to lower your standards just to make someone else comfortable. You're here to become so clear in your energy that your mere existence becomes a lesson they'll never forget. They left because they thought you'd stay exactly where they left you. But when they look back, they won't recognize you in your glow, your mindset, your strength. That, my friends, is stoic revenge. You don't need a message. You need a transformation. You don't need to speak. You need to act silently, strategically, and powerfully, with calm, with control, with class. So hold your fire and watch what happens when you stop doing what they expect. When you stop chasing and start becoming. They are not ready for the version of you that needs no closure, because you've already become everything you always wanted to be. If this stirred something in you, write it in the comments now. I don't send messages, I transform. Say it with conviction. Say it like your future self is listening. Click like, subscribe, stay with me. We're just getting started. Number 1, the unexpected move that changes everything. Let's stop sugarcoating things. If they wanted to talk to you, they would have. If they respected you, if they truly valued your presence, if they were afraid to lose you, they'd be here now. But they're not, and you're sitting there with your phone in hand, scrolling through old messages, secretly hoping that maybe, just maybe, one day they'll wake up and realize what they lost. But that fantasy is costing you time. It's draining your energy. And I need you awake now, because what I'm about to show you will change everything. It's not about sending them one last message. It's about never sending one again. Not out of bitterness, not because you're giving up, but because you're about to do something they never saw coming. Something that completely flips the emotional equation without a single word. I know what you're thinking. If I stop contacting them, they'll forget me. No, they won't. Not if you do what I'm about to tell you. No one forgets someone who went deeper than words. Many believe silence is the strongest weapon, but silence alone leaves no mark. It fades. But what I'm about to give you doesn't fade. It burns quietly, permanently in their mind. This isn't a social media trick. It's not about making someone jealous. It's not about blocking someone to feel powerful. It's something else entirely. It's psychological warfare. .com. Precise, high level. Not manipulation, but stoicism. This is Jung's shadow theory in practice. Becoming so unpredictable, so emotionally detached, and yet so powerful that you cannot be ignored. You'll live in their mind while they pretend to have forgotten you. That's the trap. You don't chase, you don't explain, you don't give closure. You're about to make one small move that opens a loop in their mind, one they can't close. And until they do, you'll haunt them, and not with anger, not with silence, but with precision. That's what makes it an art. It's not about sending a message. You are the message. The message is, I've stopped trying to prove my worth to you, and now you have to live with what you lost. And trust me, if you do this, if you stop doing what they expect, and instead take this one small step, they will feel it deep inside, at 2 in the morning, in the middle of fake laughs at parties. In the empty moments when all the stimulation fades, that's when they'll realize you're gone, and they won't understand why it hurts so much. And no, I'm not telling you the action just yet, but I will. And when I do, you'll feel like you're holding a weapon, not to hurt, but to reclaim your power. This is not a trick. It's the reset, the turning point that ends their game and begins your rebirth. No shouting, no pleading, just strategy, just peace. A complete psychological shift, so don't scroll away now, and don't close the video, because this moment right here, this will be the moment where you finally feel like a winner. Write it now in the comments. I stopped chasing. Say it with conviction. Say it like your healing depends on it, because it does. Number 2. Jung's theory of emotional imprint. Carl Jung once said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Listen closely now, my friends, because this is not a theory. It's reality. Pure, powerful psychology. Emotional imprinting means someone leaves such a deep mark on your nervous system that you begin to react without even understanding why. And the action you're about to take, the one we've prepared, does exactly that. It bypasses logic, skips the surface, and strikes directly at the subconscious, the place where true obsession begins. Most people try to get attention by being loud, by posting more, by saying more, by explaining more, but that doesn't leave an emotional imprint. It just creates noise. What we're doing is a deliberate, controlled emotional disruption. When someone expects you to reach out, to apologize, to check in, and you do the exact opposite, that creates a rupture. You become a paradox. They can't categorize you anymore, and the brain hates open loops. It seeks closure, predictability. So, if you do it right, you create a mental void they cannot fill, and they keep returning to it in their thoughts, trying to understand what happened. That is the sign. It's psychological gravity, and it's more powerful than any conversation. When they thought you would reply to the message, and you didn't. When they expected you to react emotionally, and you remained calm. When they were certain they could keep you trapped in guilt, regret, or confusion, and you suddenly became unreachable. That shift is not just a gesture, it's a message. And it hurts in a way they can't deny. Jung believed that we are all governed by internal archetypes. We assign to others based on our experiences. When you keep chasing someone who rejects you, you assign yourself the lowest archetype, the predictable one, the seeker. But when you stop playing that role, you break the emotional contract. You destroy the image. They no longer know who you are, and when someone can't define you, they become obsessed. That's how emotional imprinting works. Not by trying to be unforgettable, but by becoming inexplicable. They'll never admit it. They'll pretend they don't notice. But inside, a conflict rages because their mind was conditioned to believe you would always be there waiting, hoping, seeking. And now you've changed. You're not cold. You're centered. You're no longer reacting. You've changed direction. You haven't disappeared, you've elevated. And that very elevation creates dissonance. It reminds them they no longer have access to something they once controlled. It's the echo that remains, the shadow of you hovering over them. The imprint. They can't fight it, ignore it, or replace it. They will try. But the moment someone else fails to give them what you once gave effortlessly, the feeling returns. The confusion, the longing, the regret. And the worst part is, you're doing nothing. You're simply existing. That's the new power dynamic. So don't underestimate what happens when you decide to break the pattern. You're not just leaving. You're leaving a trace, a memory, a loop. You're burning yourself into their psychological story, whether they speak of it or not, because you didn't prove your worth. You embodied it, and now it's their mind chasing you. If you're ready to leave that imprint, write it in the comments. I leave imprints, not messages. Say it like a truth. Number 3. The art of the unreachable glow. Let's make one thing clear, friends. You're not here to disappear. You're here to shine. But not just any shine. I'm talking about the quiet, sovereign radiance of inner evolution. The kind of glow that doesn't ask to be seen, but demands it effortlessly. It's not about showing off. It's not about making others jealous. It's about becoming so undeniably better, so in tune with yourself that your very existence becomes a constant reminder of what they lost. Not because you said it, but because now they see it clearly and know they're no longer invited. That is, the art of the unreachable glow. It's not loud, not chaotic. It's the quiet, clear shift in your presence, your voice, your decisions. Maybe you've changed your style. Your energy no longer chases anyone. It flows, and when it does, it sends a message that cannot be ignored. I'm no longer the person you left behind. That glow is sacred, not for revenge, but for rebirth. It's what happens when you stop orbiting someone else's universe and start building your own. Carl Jung spoke of individuation, the process of becoming your true self by integrating what you once rejected. That is what you're doing now. Every time you choose growth over drama, every time you resist the urge to explain yourself, every time you improve, not for applause, but for peace, your glow expands, and that makes you untouchable. Not just because you're beautiful, but because you've earned it. Because that glow was born from pain you turned into purpose. Let's be honest, they thought you would stay the same. That's why they left so easily. They believed the version of you who lived off crumbs and confusion would still be there, just in case they wanted to return. But you rewrote the script. You became the plot twist. You ascended, not just on the outside, but in your entire presence. And that is what they can't admit. You didn't break. You evolved. And the glow they now see is not an Instagram filter. It's a spiritual consequence. A psychological counterstrike, a symbolic reckoning. Because, friends, people don't regret the silence. They regret the growth. When they see you from the outside blooming focused, unreachable, that's when the regret takes root. That's when the mind begins to whisper, you had all that, and you let it go. You don't need to block them. You don't need to send a message. You don't need to show emotion. Your glow becomes the soundtrack to their silent shame. So focus on the unreachable. People want what they can't have, especially when it used to be theirs. Your glow was familiar. Now it feels foreign, dangerous, forbidden. And the more they realize they can't touch it anymore, the more they want it back. Not out of love, but because you've become the symbol of what they'll never have again. So invest in your glow. Protect it. Build it from within. Get better. Take care of your body. Speak with clarity. Move as if you own your world. You're not doing it for them. But trust me, they'll notice. They won't say it, but they'll feel it. And every time they feel it, it'll be a sting they cannot hide. If this touched you, write it in the comments. Now, my glow is untouchable. Say it like a declaration. Say it like the old version of you is never coming back. Number 4. Controlled exposure. The psychological hook. Let me tell you about a mistake most people make when trying to distance themselves. They think there are only two options: complete silence or constant presence. But true power lies in between. It lies in the precision with which you choose when and how to appear. That's what we call controlled exposure. You don't disappear, but you don't chase either. You show up just enough to trigger the mind, not the ego. You don't have to scream, "Look at me." All you need to do is let your glow appear right where they least expect it. That's how you become unforgettable. It's not about attention. It's about emotional disruption. Because when they see you laughing, blooming, building something, and doing it all without them, they won't get angry. They'll ask themselves, why do they suddenly look so light? Why do they seem so at ease? Why don't they try anymore? And the moment those questions arise, the game is over. Because now they're the ones sitting with uncertainty. They wonder if you've moved on, if someone else is in your life, if they were ever truly irreplaceable. Maybe you post a single picture, not provocative, not exaggerated, just a glimpse of your glow, a casual photo that radiates your inner peace through the screen. No caption needed, no hashtags, just let them sit with it. Show up somewhere they wouldn't expect you, not for them, never for them, but because your life is expanding again, and they are no longer the center of it. That's when curiosity turns into desire. Not because you said anything, but because you stopped wanting to be understood and became undeniable instead. Carl Jung said, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is a reaction, both are transformed." The problem is, they left because they thought they were the only one who mattered. And now, when they see you intact, untouched, yet visible to the world, they're forced to react. But this time, you don't react back. You simply keep living. And that very feeling knowing they can no longer reach youth, that is the moment of transformation for both of you. Controlled exposure is a psychological hook, because you give just enough for them to sense your evolution, but not enough to be part of it. They see you, they feel you, but they can't reach you. And that's what throws the human mind off balance. You don't have to post every day. You don't have to make noise. You only have to show that you exist powerfully, even without them. And that is terrifying for someone who once believed your light depended on their attention. Now, your life is a trigger not out of spite, but as a symbol. You become a living reminder of their mistake, a witness to the chance they missed, and you don't have to say anything. You don't have to prove anything. You've simply become someone they no longer have access to, and you've shown them that. That's how desire begins, not through words, but through what is no longer reachable. So stay in control. Be intentionally present. Let your growth shine, but don't let it be grasped. You are no longer available to people who once rejected you. You are no longer playing to get a reaction. You are living for your own expansion. If this hits deep, write it now in the comments. I am seen, not conquered. Say it like you've crossed a line you'll never return from. Hit like, subscribe, and stay with me. We're just getting started. Number 5. The shift from chasing energy to desired energy. This, friends, they never saw it coming. They never thought the day would come when their name no longer pulled your attention like a magnet. Because for so long, they were the prize. You were the one who gave, who was always there first, who forgave quickly, who kept the door open with a heart full of hope. But now everything has changed. Whether they know it or not, you've already made the handoff. You're no longer the one walking toward them. Now, they have to earn your return. This is the shift in energy, and it's more powerful than any message you could ever send. Every time you chase them, you fed their illusion of superiority. You unknowingly taught them that your time, your love, your energy belonged to them. But now you're not angry. You're just no longer available. You no longer offer exclusive access to someone who never truly saw you. And believe me, they feel it. Even if they stay silent, even if they never admit it. The shift in your energy screams at them in a language louder than any text. You are no longer the center of my world. Carl Jung taught that true transformation begins when the unconscious becomes conscious. And you, my friend, just lit a fire under their illusion. The dynamic has flipped. They used to be the sun and you orbited around them, but now you are your own source of light. You no longer revolve. You stand still, radiant. And now they're the ones circling around you, unable to grasp how they lost control. You don't need to announce your transformation. In fact, the quieter you embody this energy, the more intensely they'll feel it. You don't send messages. You don't check in. You don't ask how they're doing. You keep moving, evolving, making choices not out of bitterness, but because your standards have changed. You don't chase anymore because you're too focused on what's real. You're too busy becoming the very thing you used to beg someone else to be for you. And that's exactly when their panic begins. Not when you left, but when they realized you're not looking back. When they sense they're knocking on a door you no longer live behind. You used to be available for their indecision, for their mixed signals, for their almost love. But now, you've raised your emotional worth, and they can no longer afford it. And here lies the key. When your energy no longer reaches them, they begin to search for you in confusion. Why haven't they reached out? Are they talking to someone else? Have they really left me? These thoughts hit harder than any long message or emotional explanation. You don't explain your value. You make them feel it. That's the moment they realize they weren't the prize. You were. And from that point on, your glow is no longer just external. It's spiritual, energetic, earned, and they know it. This is the law of emotional gravity. The one who pulls back first creates the void, and the one who tries to fill it last has already lost. You no longer pull, you've become the pull, and they orbit the absence of what they lost. If you've made that shift, if you feel that quiet power in your chest, then write it now in the comments. Now I am the prize. Say it like your soul needs to hear it. Say it like you've stopped apologizing for growing. Number 6. Ritualize your self-elevation so they can't ignore it. Let's make one thing clear, friends. The next step isn't advice. It's a necessity. If you're serious about flipping the dynamic, if you've truly stopped being the one they leave behind, forget, or overlook, then it's time to ritualize your rise. No more reacting. No more waiting for something to fix itself. No more scrolling through their profile, looking for crumbs. It's time to take every drop of that pain and build something they cannot overlook. It's not about staging a performance. It's about rising with structure, consistency, and clarity. Because when you begin working, not just mentally, but visibly, you become something they never imagined. Unmissable, you become something they can no longer lie to themselves about. Something that can't be faked, filtered, or ignored. Whether it's your body, your project, your energy, your space, you rise with precision. Because the best revenge is not revenge, it's transformation. The kind of transformation Jung called the highest form of healing, where your wound becomes your rebirth. They thought your pain would destroy you. They thought you'd sit in a corner and wait, but you didn't. You ritualized your rebirth. You used the silence as fuel, the confusion as direction, the pain as fire. And now you shine in a light they'll never feel again. Not because you flaunt it, but because your energy has changed. You have been remade, sharpened, realigned. You've become a new version of yourself. They can't reach you anymore. They won't say it, but they see it in the way you move, in the way you speak, clearer, in how your world no longer revolves around their approval. And that glow isn't just on the outside. It's an emotional presence, a spiritual clarity, a power that can't be faked. You're no longer reacting, you're becoming. And that's exactly what scares them. Not your silence, not your distance, but your discipline. This isn't a phase, not a revenge body, not a temporary escape. It's your new ritual. Every morning you show up and improve. You're sending a message to your old self. I didn't die there. I rose. Every new habit, every boundary overcome, every version stronger than the last becomes part of the legacy they helped shape but ultimately lost. You're not bitter. You're focused. You don't need to prove anything. You're refining. And the more you refine, the more impossible you are to overlook. That's when their panic begins. That's when reality hits. They didn't just lose you. They wouldn't even recognize you today. You've become something shaped by pain, and that kind of growth lives forever in their memory. So don't wait to feel motivated. Build the rituals. Create the plan. Eliminate the distractions. Your glow is earned, not gifted. And when it's real, rooted in truth and consistency, even your silence becomes unforgettable. You've become the version of yourself they never deserved. If this hit you like a wake-up call, write it now in the comments. I rise through ritual. Say it from the heart. Say it like you've buried your past and lifted your crown. Number 7. The ghost effect. You left, but you're everywhere. Want to know what real power is? It's not revenge. It's not screaming into the void hoping to be heard. It's not the final message they never read. Real power is when you're gone, and your presence lingers like smoke in every room they enter. You didn't force it. You didn't chase it. You simply became. That is the ghost effect. When your absence is stronger than any presence they blocked, you're perfect. That doesn't stop energy. That doesn't erase memory. That doesn't delete the version of you that now lives in their head without permission. In their dreams, images of you they never wanted to summon. Their playlists. Suddenly, those lyrics take on a new meaning. At their social media, flooded with faces, words, places that remind them of what they ran from. You're not there, and yet you're everywhere. That's the curse of losing someone who once gave you real love. They don't disappear, they echo, and you didn't plan it. You didn't manipulate anything. You simply transformed, walked away, and focused on your glow, your rituals, your growth, and the universe did the rest. Because when you become undeniably better, your energy imprints itself on their reality. It becomes a kind of psychological background noise they can no longer ignore. You are the notification that never arrives, yet they check their phone constantly. You are the conversation that creeps in when the music fades. You are the metaphor in every movie, the whisper in every room, the reflection they can no longer avoid. Carl Jung believed that unprocessed emotions always find a way to rise to the surface through projections, dreams, fantasies, irrational fears, and that's exactly what's happening. They can't process what you've become, so their subconscious brings you back in fragments again and again. It's not your fault they didn't value you, but now it's their burden to live with the loss of something that bloomed without them. You've become a symbol of what it means to be rejected and still rise. You don't haunt them like a vengeful ghost. You linger like a queen or king who laid down a crown they'll never wear again. You're not just a memory, you're a moment that can't be rewritten. They never really got closure with you because they never told you the truth. And now, they sit in the fog full of unanswered questions. And the more they pretend they're unaffected, the heavier it weighs. Want to know why they still check your page even though they no longer follow you? Why they scroll, watch from a distance, ask mutual friends about you? Because the human brain hates open loops. And you, my friend, left them with a twist they weren't prepared for. They expected a breakdown. You gave them a plot twist. They thought you'd fall. You built an empire. And that discrepancy now lives in their chest. That is the ghost effect. The power of emotional imprint, combined with growth that needs no apology. So no, you don't have to write a message. You don't have to break the silence. Your transformation already did what words never could. It made you unforgettable. And that is the true revenge. Not loud, not angry, just unshakable. If you feel that in your soul, write it now in the comments. I am the echo. Say it like a vow. Say it like your glow is now permanent. Number 8. The less you do, the more their mind works. Here comes the paradox that destroys their mind. The less you do, the more they fall apart. While you live, build, grow, they sit, spiraling over a silence you never explained. That's the trap. That's the prison you place them in. Not through bitterness or manipulation, but through quiet, consistent growth they can't comprehend. You're not ignoring them. You just no longer offer explanations to people who didn't listen the first time. Every message you didn't send, every reply you held back, every moment you chose growth over drama, it's not echoing in the world, it's echoing in them. And now they're the ones filling in the gaps, inventing stories in their head, trying to decode your absence. Why didn't he respond? Is she seeing someone else? How could he let go so easily? Questions they don't have the emotional maturity to answer. And that's what drives them mad. Because the truth is, people don't fear silence. They fear being insignificant. And when you stop giving them your energy, when you stop feeding their ego with your attention, when you stop responding the way you used to, that's when their subconscious kicks in. Old conversations, replay. The smallest details are overanalyzed. They study your posts like sacred text, searching for clues. That smile, is it for someone else? That glow, does it come from a new person or from inner peace? They don't know. And that not knowing is the punishment they never expected. Carl Jung said, people will do anything, absolutely anything, to avoid facing their own soul. And that's exactly what they're doing now. They pretend they've moved on, but inside they're trapped in a story they can't finish. Your silence wasn't passive. It was strategic. You didn't just disappear. You rose. You became someone they can no longer read. Someone they once had open access to now looms behind a door they no longer have the key to. And that's what hits them hardest. You didn't do less because you were weak. You did less because you finally recognized your worth. You're not cold. You're focused. You're not distant. You're centered. While they sit in a storm of their own making, you walk calmly through your life as if nothing ever touched you. That's the new version of you they no longer recognize. That's the space they can no longer fill. And every time they try to replace you, they only see a reflection that can't give back what you once offered so freely. You've become the question they can't shake. Not because you were dramatic, but because you were real. And now, you're gone. The stories they invent now, that's their karma. That's the consequence. You stopped feeding the illusion. And now their mind is starving for an ending while you've already moved on. You're no longer waiting for apologies. You're no longer holding back your growth for people who never truly saw your heart. And that distance between who you were and who you've become is what they feel every single time they think of you. It's not absence, it's ascension. And the less you do, the more their mind takes over. So if you're now walking calmly and confidently through your life, if you've stopped explaining, stopped chasing, and started becoming, then write it now in the comments. My silence says everything. Say it as if your soul has stopped entertaining confusion.